And as you take notes, they're going to be archived in this system for you to be able to access at any time. So that will be right here. Communication is another way to hear from your teacher, possibly from the administrator might put something out. So this is a real neat way for you to stay on top of everything that's going on. So this one here is from our biology teacher, and she noticed there was an issue, so she put an announcement up so that everyone had the information and how to navigate through that. The calendar is here. All the dots show exactly how many assignments they're working on each day. One of the things that's neat, you can also just look at one course and then see exactly what you need to do in that. There's also a couple extra links. We have links to the logins for email in our district, so I can work with Mr. Wales to see exactly what he might want to link you guys to. We also have a Zoom login link, so if you click that, all you have to do is put in your ID, join a meeting and put the ID in, and then you're instantly in a live session with the teacher. So there's a lot of neat navigation features in the system, but let me show you a course real quick. If you click on the tile, it takes you right into the course. Every single course that we have has a landing page that looks like this, where the teacher can put information about herself, about the course, but they have to put the information on how to contact them. So their email, their phone number, whatever works is right there. Then as you go through, there is a resource folder. The resource folder is in each course. It's nice because it allows you to have a place to go and remind yourself on how to do things. So how to submit an assignment, how to contact your teacher, where are your grades, all those different things are housed in each course so that you can refer to it anytime. Then as you go through, an important thing to know about our courses is that you have to do the assignment before you can do the next one. So you can't just jump all over. You have to stay in sequence throughout the course. So here I'm going to click on a lesson. Once you go into the lesson, you can see this lesson has 11 pages, but it's going to start out with the objectives, what you're going to learn, and the keywords in that specific lesson. You can navigate here or navigate through the drop down. So as you go through, there's a lot of different things. You don't need an extra textbook or anything. This has everything embedded in it. There will be information. Once again, you can take notes. As you go through, there's usually interactive things, there's videos, a lot of different things to be able to keep you going through the content without just reading a bunch of information. So down here, you would have a little thing that allows you to, drag and drop to see if you're right. And once you have them in, then you can check your answer. And I imagine I probably didn't do real well. Oh, better than I thought. So that is there. They're going to ask you questions as you go through. You can click the answer to see if you're on track. And there will also be an assessment at the end. This assessment here is actually just asking the questions, and it's giving you feedback immediately to see if you understand what you were working on. But after you finish the lesson, you might see a quiz. This one has a quiz following it. So usually they're like a 4-question quiz just to see if you understood your lesson. Just a couple other features. The grade book is attached right here. And in the grade book, it does show you every single thing that you have for that course and when it's due. It also has a little dialog box if there's feedback from the teacher, or this one here has a retry allowed. We really do want to see students master the material, so we'll work with them, and if they need to retry on an assessment, we can do that. So right here, here's some feedback. take your time, go through the lesson. It gives you feedback on what you got right and what you did not. 1 minute and 27 seconds. So that's not a lot of time to go through an 11-page lesson. So you can see here, I took 2 seconds on the quiz. Sometimes you might see 2 seconds on a lesson and 5 minutes on a 4-question quiz. That's going to be an alert to us to have a conversation and make sure that they're spending the time they need within the actual lesson. So that is there for you. There is a what if button. So if they do retry and they take an assessment again that they didn't do too well on, maybe they got a 60% this time, you can go up and actually recalculate their score to see how that would affect their score. So there's a lot of neat tools within the system itself. I'll take you back to the beginning page, and hopefully we have Ron back with us. Is he?
Yeah, I'm here. Sorry, I got booted by the internet, but thank you for taking over and going through the demo. So that's very helpful. I appreciate that. I'll just finish up with the presentation and then we'll go to Sue, and then we'll have some Q&A. So I'm going to go ahead and find the presentation I want to jump to. Share my screen. Okay. All right. Okay, I went through this slide already. I'm sure I did. Talked a little bit about some of the support behind the scenes. Before I talk about the instructional models that you see on the screen that are related to EVA, EVA itself is one of 3 instructional models that we're offering this year. And EVA has 3 instructional models within it. So prior to talking about all the instructional models of EVA, I want to talk a little bit about the 3 instructional models that we're offering. And get a little bit more into detail after we talk about EVA as to what distinguishes EVA from the online option being offered this year. So the three options this year for all EFRTA students are the modified traditional option, where in that option you would send your son, daughter, or student to school, and they would go to school just like they normally would. Of course, there's going to be, based upon recommendations from the CDC and PDE, criteria and certain standard operating procedures in place, such as social distancing, wearing of face coverings, things like that, and also sanitizing. Those are probably the 3 major ones. So it will be a different feel of school, obviously, just like when I go grocery shopping, every Tuesday or Wednesday night, depending upon how quickly my kids have eaten through the food, it's a different feel, but it's there. And so that's one of the things that is an option. There's also the online option. The online option is not EVA. It's not the EFRTA Virtual Academy. The online option is where students could go into the brick and mortar school at some point, but they are choosing to get the brick and mortar access to their classes that they would be assigned with the teacher that they would be assigned had they gone to the brick and mortar school, but they're doing it virtually. So what we're doing behind the scenes now is we're getting equipment and we're getting teachers trained. We're developing the training for teachers so that they would have a more robust and kind of integrated curriculum and instruction experience for the students upon their return. And students that are in the classroom will be getting the classroom experience. Of course, it's going to be a little different this year because of face coverings and social distancing practices and some of the sanitizing rules. You can have that, but students will also be, I'm going to call it zooming in, but we're not going to be using Zoom. We're going to be using something a little bit more developed for that type of scenario. It's called Microsoft Teams, and you can kind of check that out on your own. We'll be releasing some information about that later on, I'm sure. But we're going to be using Microsoft Teams to bring the students that are at home into the classrooms that they would traditionally be assigned at the time at which they would be taking those classes. So the online option for students, they would be taking the same classes they would if they were going to the brick and mortar school in a modified traditional at the same time. So they're getting the exact same experience that students who are sitting in that classroom. There will be both synchronous work, which is live sessions each and every day for the classes, and asynchronous work, which is work that they'll do on their own. So they may not be in a live session for the full hour, or they may be if you have an hour class. So that is the online option. The EVA option has 3 options within it that I'll discuss now. The first option is the full-time cyber option, and that is where students have chosen to take all of their classes through EVA. Okay, that is offered from K through 12. You get access to district activities if you choose that, such as if you want to do sports. It works with both synchronous and asynchronous work, meaning that there are live sessions through EVA for students and K through 12, but through 6 through 12 in that middle school experience, it's about 3 sessions per week. For a high school experience, you get at least 1 live session per unit. Okay, the asynchronous work is the work that Misty just demonstrated for you. So it's the work as you're working through those curricular modules and units online. You have the opportunity to interact with your online teacher, but it's not the same teacher as that's being offered at Ephrata Area School District. So the curriculum, though it is standards aligned, it is as rigorous as the curriculum that the students should be getting within the traditional brick and mortar classroom, because it's all standards aligned. It's all towards the same learning targets that are going to be standards aligned. However, it's not the same teacher, it's not the same activities, and it's not going to be, you know, exactly the same type of assessments, because it's the online curriculum rather than the brick and mortar curriculum. They have many elective options for full-time or the hybrid option, and they also have honors courses. Okay, we're going to be publishing sometime either later this week or early next week. We'll be publishing the courses online to give you a better feel as to exactly what is available. Then there's the hybrid cyber option within the EVA option. That's for K through 12. In that option, and we're still working out some of the details right now, the possibility for limited access to online and modified traditional modes. So what we know right now is that if you take the hybrid cyber, let's say you take your 4 core classes through EVA, your science, your social studies, your English, and your math, or let's say you take 3 out of those 4 and you want to take geometry in the online learning option, so you are zoomed in to the classroom that your peers are in at Ephrata Area School District in geometry or whatever math you're taking, or if you want to take the online learning option to zoom in to the art class or to zoom in to whatever class it may be, that's going to be a possibility. And potentially, and we still have to work some of the safety details about this, so I can't give a guarantee right now, there is the potential that if you do the hybrid cyber option this year, that you would be allowed to come into the school still to take 1 or 2 of those classes that you absolutely want to take within the school. So those are the details we're working on right now. And by the time we get to the point where you have to choose, we should have those details ironed out for you. People might ask, when is the cutoff date to choose? I don't know the exact day to choose, but it's going to be towards the beginning of August. So you got a little bit of time here to still mull over the options. Of course, through hybrid cyber or the full-time cyber, you're going to have access to the district activities. So if you're looking at, you know, those, you're looking at your sports options or some of those additional, you know, the extracurriculars like dances and things like that, you absolutely. Then there's the Learning Lab at Washington. That is specifically for 9th through 12th grade students. It is a self-paced learning environment. There is no synchronous sessions. You are working your way through oftentimes a credit recovery program or program to accelerate your learning so that you can get to your diploma more quickly. And that is really designed for students that have not always been successful in the traditional brick and mortar environment on the traditional pace and place of their learning. In that environment, it's over at Washington, the high school at Washington, and we have on-site coaches and support, and that is open from 8 a.m. to 8:30 p.m. to accommodate people that are working full-time or have other activities going on in the day. And you know, that of course is a very great option for specific students that really need that. Some of the benefits of EVA that I talked about already, it's the same curriculum as cyber charters. You know, when you look behind the scenes and look at what Misty develops, she pulls from a variety of vendors of curriculum that cyber charter schools do as well. When you look at CCA or PA Virtual, or they get their curriculum from curriculum providers, and they import it into their learning program, and they create their program, and they create, you know, what they call their cyber charter. We have access to the same curriculum, and Misty does a good job of, you know, going through that curriculum and vetting what is appropriate for our students. We offer synchronous sessions at the 6 through 12 level. As I said, it's about 3 sessions per week for our students in 6, 7, and 8, or our middle school students. And we offer our high school students 1 synchronous session per unit that they go through in the classes. You have the option, you know, you can get an EASD diploma, the traditional Effort Area School District diploma, and it doesn't have any distinctive there's no notation on it that you got your diploma through a virtual academy or anything. It's the same diploma as any other traditional student gets. You have access to school activities, as I spoke about. You have local support for technology. We do all of our tech in-house, so you're gonna get technology from our IT team that's led by Tim McCormick. You have access to counseling services, access to administrative services, and access to the other pupil services. And we will work directly with you to make sure that if you're going through EVA, that what you're getting is the appropriate curriculum and the appropriate instruction for you. Our teacher support behind the scenes through our partners at Warren County, and the teachers there are there from 8 to 3. And so you can access them even outside those synchronous sessions. You can, send them an email or ask if, hey, can we quickly connect or talk over the phone, or can we Zoom in to answer a question or something, and they're there for that support. And of course, I told you that we offer honors and electives through the EVA program. One of the things I want to talk about, though, just to kind of reemphasize the difference between the online option and the EVA option. EVA has those 3 options: the full-time, the hybrid, and the Washington Center option. The online option is linked to the brick and mortar schedule and the brick and mortar instruction. So if you're really looking for, that structure that students would get in the traditional environment, but you'd like to have that in your house because of COVID-19, and you might have some fears or hesitation of sending, your child or your student to school, the online option is what you're looking for. EVA is not linked to the brick and mortar schedule, nor is it linked to the brick and mortar curriculum as far as activities and assessments and the teacher goes. EVA doesn't offer the effort to teachers. We use the Warren County teachers, whereas the online option is the daily virtual interactions with effort to teachers and classmates. The online option offers those daily synchronous sessions each and every day for each and every class. EVA offers synchronous sessions at the secondary level, but again, it's about 3 synchronous sessions a week for students in middle school, and then you get 1 synchronous session for students in high school. And finally, the online option is EFRTA's in-house curriculum. So, if you knew of a teacher that you were looking forward to getting a specific course experience, that would be the EFRTA online option. Whereas EVA, the curriculum is provided through our online providers, same as the cyber charter schools. It's the exact same curriculum. We can pull from the exact same vendors. It's just programmed and packaged differently. Okay? The contacts, if you're interested in EVA, and getting more information about EVA, or you want to talk about, you're undecided at this point, you can contact me, and this slide deck will be posted obviously to our website, where you can find all the information on this link here. If you click on that link, it'll take you to our website, and there is an abundance of other information there that talks about EVA, our virtual academy. But you can contact me at ronald_wales@easdpa.org, or the assistant to the coordinator of instructional programs, Lori Grow, and there's her email address, and she's here today, and she works very carefully, very closely with all the students to build that relationship and to keep you plugged into what's going on, because it's absolutely necessary. Or you can scan the QR code there, and that'll take you to our web page that's listed here. And there's also a form on there to indicate interest. If you go onto our Google form that is posted on the website, you can indicate interest, and one of the principals will be reaching out to you, either a principal of the building that you would be attending if you were going brick and mortar, or I'll be reaching out to you or Lori to kind of talk and to coach you through what would be the best option based upon your needs and concerns. So I want to thank everybody for listening to that. And I really want to turn things over to Sue Steffi, who is going to, I'm going to stop sharing my screen. And Sue Steffi is here to talk a little bit about her role behind the scenes and working with students with special needs.
Okay, there I'm unmuted. That's what I was trying to do. Okay, regardless of what a family chooses, whether it's brick and mortar or online through EFRTA or EVA, Student Services will be partnering with you and your family to make sure your student receives everything that they need to be successful. So whether that's a GIEP, an IEP, 504 plan, or something that is needed for a student that does not speak English, we will make sure every student gets what they need and is able to access their education, regardless of which choice the family decides. If a family decides to go the EVA route, EFRTA will be writing the IEP or GIEP or creating that plan and working with Misty and her team to make sure the student gets whatever they need to be successful. If a student decides to have a combination or a hybrid model, EFRTA will still write those plans, and families and EFRTA will decide how things are delivered according to that plan. If a family decides to go fully brick and mortar, then it will be business as usual unless our governor makes changes. Then we will roll with those punches and we will make sure families get whatever they need to make sure their students are successful. So regardless of your options, 1, 2, or 3, if a student has Student Services within their program, we will be part of that plan.
All right, thanks so much, Sue. Thank you for being behind the scenes, just to assure people that we can deliver services in the online option, in the modified traditional option, or in the EVA option. Missy Weber asked to show 1 or 2 more things, so I'm going to turn things over to her so that she can.
Got to unmute myself. Okay. I just forgot to show you this, and I just wanted to make sure in case there were any questions on this. And any of the lessons that we have too, we have a thing called the immersive reader, and this cute little thing right here. If you expand it, it has a lot of features to it. One of the tools is called a screen mask, and this will allow a student as they're going through to focus in on the material that they need to. So that's a nice little feature. It also will read the entire document to you as you go through. You can pause it and stop it. You can highlight a word, and you can see the translation for that as well. We have multiple language. This one's defaulted to Spanish at the current time. There is a dictionary feature, which will allow anything that you highlight to come up so that you can see what that actually means. And there is also a picture dictionary that goes with that as well. So that's a nice little tool to have, and it just hides in the corner right here. So if a child needs it, they can use it. They don't have to, but it is a nice little feature. So I had forgot to say that, and I just wanted to make sure I shared that because a lot of people ask if the content can be read to them, and it can be. Okay, all yours. Are you still there, Ron? I don't have you as a host, Ron. Are you, I mean, I don't have anyone specifically. Are you able to access it?
I'm now the host. I've gotten those rights back. Thank you so much. Yeah, as you were sharing your screen, I made you host. Yeah, just tossing the football around. Okay, sorry about that. Somebody asked if we were recording this and we'll post it. Yeah, I hope we try to edit out some of these. Yeah, it might be a highly edited film. So let's go to some of these questions that we have in the question and answer section. So one of the questions was, are there live sessions in EVA? And the answer to that question is yes. I can't speak to the past of EVA, but I know this year, we are going to have live sessions for elementary students, and there will be 3 to 5 a week, and then there'll be about 3 per week per middle school, and then 1 per unit for high school students. With EVA, are children able to take advanced math and English classes? We have honors classes. But we don't have AP classes for the most part. Is that true, Misty? Or is it?
We do have a selection of AP courses. It just, once we figure out who's all going to do this, then it would help to know that you need advanced placement so that we can make sure we get a teacher behind it and get it ready. So that's something I can work with Ron on, that we do have availability to that, but usually the demand hasn't been very high for it, so we haven't really pushed it out heavily. So we probably can work with the school district to find something that meets their needs, whether, that's through our district or helping them support their AP program as well.
Okay. So it's one of those, we would have to kind of work together if you were going to go full-time on EVA, looking at who's signing up for those AP courses and if we can populate a section. If you have a DIP, which would be a better an IEP student, which would, I'm assuming that means IEP student, which would be a better choice for a student with IEPs? That really depends on the student. I think if you are going to be utilizing some of the brick and mortar options and you're looking for a strong connection and you have a son, daughter, or student that struggles and needs kind of to come in for those services, you'd probably be looking with our online option, and that would also connect you with our modified traditional option. we would be able to kind of maintain those services in a little bit more of a hands-on fashion. If you still, or I'm sorry, an IEP student. Okay, yep, there we go. If a student starts the year as an EVA hybrid student and attend the brick and mortar for classes that we shift back to red per governor's order, would the classes in the brick and mortar shift to online as opposed to EVA? Yes, I believe that would be the response. If the shutdown option, and this is kind of like, you know, we're looking at that online option as a way to leverage the resources that we already have to respond to whether or not we go to red, and whether or not, you know, regardless of the whole state or our district going to red, or the county, whether or not a particular student needs to leave the brick and mortar because of quarantine or because they got sick for something. So that online option that we're building the capacity for, which by the way will look nothing like the kind of online, you know, we had to go to it back in March. This is going to be we've got more equipment, we've got more experience now, we're getting more training now. So looking at what that online option is going to be, it's going to be far different from what what was offered basically anywhere back in March. I work at Boyertown right now, and I start here on August 1st, and we've had the same challenges, and we've gotten a lot of the same parental responses from what the March situation looked like between March and June, and really not knowing what was going to happen day by day, week by week, sometimes hour by hour. It was really a challenge to meet everybody at their needs, but this is going to be fundamentally different. And in that difference, we're building that online option in there so that we can offer the capacity to say, oh, we're in red now, we need to go all online. Or a student has a particular concern or need, they can go back into the brick and mortar, or they can leave it for a period of time or for the rest of the year if need be. What will be needed as far as computers and requirements for each child? Anything needed, you will be provided, whether that's the online option or whether that's through EVA. So, traditionally you need, your computer, your charger. That's about it, because, certain tangibles you need for certain classes. Sometimes you need a novel, sometimes you need, workbooks. Those would be sent to you. So you're not going to, we talked with Misty before about, this morning about art classes and certain classes that, have supplemental materials. Things that you can't get at a lot of the art curriculum in your online options like EVA are designed to be able to use common household things. Things that you couldn't get or that you didn't have access to, you would have to work with us and with your building, and we would do what we can to provide you with the materials that you would need either on loan or permanently to utilize those for your child's success in those classes. But the online classes interrupt kids going to brick and mortar students. So our online option allows you to virtually seamlessly go in and out of the brick and mortar because you're actually still taking the same classes in the brick and mortar. EVA is different. You're not taking the same class. You're taking a curriculum that is, part courseware and implemented by teachers from Warren County. So the online option, that second option we have aside from the traditional brick and mortar, is designed to work hand in hand with the modified brick and mortar. It's designed to work hand in hand with the modified brick and mortar to allow, the opportunity for the walls to be a little bit more porous and flexible. If a family chooses modified traditional, are they allowed to go into EVA if schools shut down? If a family chooses modified traditional, from what I am understanding now, they would probably be put not in EVA because we couldn't have a flood of students leaving, if we were to shut down and go, back into the red phase, we wouldn't be the capacity to put all those students in EVA. You would have to have the teachers behind the scenes. You'd have to set up the curriculum. It's not something we could do overnight. Whereas transitioning to this online option, the capacity we're building now is that we could do that, overnight or within a day or two. What kind of world language does EVA provide? That's a good question, Misty. I haven't memorized your course offerings, but what type of course offerings do we have for world languages? Yeah, I'll unmute you.
We have 3 levels of Spanish at the high school. We had German last year, unless there's a need for it. We have not pushed it out yet. We had a teacher retire. So, but those were the 2 that we had previously.
Okay, thank you. If they are spending all class dealing with technical difficulties, will online students, the brick and mortar students, will miss out? The goal is not to have us dealing with technical difficulties. You're going to find that, when, I taught high school for many years, and, the first few classes, even in high school, and I taught AP classes, you're building community, you're building culture, you're going through processes and procedures, you're talking about where you're going, you're kind of getting the students settled back into the year. That's going to be part of what we're doing. In the online option, what I do know is that students that are experiencing technical difficulties, it's not necessarily going to be the teacher's, role to stop the class and address all the technical difficulties. And we're building capacity right now, and we're getting things so that they will be streamlined. So hopefully we'll have minimal technical difficulties, and we're definitely not going to have students missing out on instruction based on technology snafus on a daily basis. In the hybrid version, where will parents access be through? Parents that are working and the student is home would like to know real time versus waiting for the teacher to post a grade or a 0 for nothing submitted. In Misty's demonstration, there is a way, there is access, and in orientation you can see this, where the parent would be able to see, my child spent this much time on this much activity. It really does tell you what exactly is going on, the progress they made, the time they spent online, the time they were active, and where they got to. So there is like a dashboard you get to, you can log in, and then you can find like the report it'll generate on a continuous basis as to how much work your child or student is accruing. Are you able to say that you would suggest one over the other, EVA versus online? I really think that depends on the need. I know that what we're doing in the district right now is really building, again, that capacity for our online option to meet parents where they're at. We understand that there was, some people weren't completely satisfied with the online option that was offered back in March, and we'd like to reiterate, this is not that thing. We're trying to make it so porous that students that cannot come to school, or parents who feel that it's unsafe to send their child to school for whatever reason that may be, that they can have access to the classroom within the school, and that they can have access to the teacher that they know. And so that's the whole point of the online option. It offers that synchronous session. It offers that structure that you would want. If you didn't want that type of structure, and you want something that is not like the traditional structure of school, because if you choose the online option, you are going to get the school experience at home. If you wanted something more self-paced, or more, I don't want to say self-directed, because you're not necessarily choosing the content, but more self-paced, and that has less synchrony with the time frames, you would go with EVA. But if you're still deciding after you've kind of molded over, if you reach out to me or your building principal, we can walk you and coach you through the process, and to really break down what are your values, what are your needs, what are you looking for, and we can steer you in the right direction. What are the student-teacher ratios for EVA? Now, since Misty, you talked about that this morning, so I'll try and field that. It's pretty traditional. You don't want to have a Zoom session where there's an overwhelming number of kids on, like 30 plus kids online, that because you can't, every student you add limits the personal attention that you're going to have for every other student. So it's pretty traditional. So if you're talking about in a secondary classroom, what do you usually see? 25 students, about, at least where I taught, that was 25 to 30 students in a traditional classroom. What they do behind the scenes is they make sure that that the teacher doesn't have so many students that they can't respond to the individual needs of the student. That's, without setting a specific number to say we'll never go above that. That's really the rule of thumb benchmark. Obviously you need to have enough students so that the course is viable and it can run, but you don't want to put too many students in the course so that you can't actually reach the students. So that's kind of the without pegging a specific number, that's where I'd go with that. Does EVA offer musical instrument classes? And I believe the answer to that was yes. It does offer musical instrument classes. Do you want to speak a little bit about what that looks like? Let's unmute, ask to unmute.
Okay. I mean, we don't have a lot, but we did actually partner with a new company that offers guitar. So if you have guitar, and we have that in middle school and high school, different levels of guitar. They're also going to be pushing out a piano course here pretty soon. So we have those available to you. But I would think if you're doing a different instrument and you have lessons that you're working through the school, I'm sure that, you know, that's something that hopefully you'll be able to continue to pursue. And Ron hopefully will be able to speak more to that. But
okay, all right. Here's a scenario with 2 kids going into 5th grade and with diagnosed difficulty and a 504 plan. Would this be a decent option with EVA? They tend to require more observation and guidance to stay on task. Well, you know, with any online option, the parent in the background functions not necessarily as a teacher, but as a learning coach and somebody who's setting the stage, setting the structure. With either EVA or our online option, you're going to have access to what is, you know, in the brick and mortar as far as student support services go. If you're looking for within the school to have direct access to the teacher and direct access to the peers that they would know and to be communicating with them in that way and be able to kind of zoom in with them, that's the online option that you'd be looking for. So if you're looking at those 2 plans and looking side by side, and if you email me or reach out to the building principal, we can, and Sue here could walk you through what that might look like. She's really the expert on that, but that would require just talking with you one-to-one and knowing what your particular concerns are, and what would be the best option for those particular concerns. For high school, what does it mean to have 1 live session per unit? Is that 1 per week, per chapter? Can you clarify that? Well, that would probably, like, whatever the unit looks like within EVA, as you know, when we speak about online instruction, you talk about modules, and modules are typically units, and you work through the lessons or folders within those units, depending upon what type of LMS you're using. The behind the scenes teacher at Warren County would schedule during that module or unit, as you're working your way through the content, they would schedule a session with you that everybody can come together and connect about the material that you're learning. So I hesitate, as a curriculum specialist, I hesitate to say a chapter is a unit, just because I've always, you know, for me, resources, like, you could use anything to build a curricular unit. Oftentimes they break down into, you know, like a social studies, it could be a chapter or something like that, but online it doesn't, you know, the way things are kind of hierarchically built, it would be like a module or a unit, and your teacher would schedule for you. So if you had, you know, in a semester, if you had 4 or 5 units, you would see your teacher 4 or 5 times. There might be 8 units and you would see your teacher 8 times. It really depends. In the online, how long will they be doing work if they on all day, like being in classrooms, or is it a shorter day? I don't necessarily think it's a shorter day. We still have to have students in school for, I mean, what would it be, Misty, about 6 hours a day? Is that fair to say for a secondary student, 5-6 hours a day? There needs to be at least 5 hours and 45 minutes? 5 hours and 15? About 5 hours and 15 minutes. Now, some of that is live session. So if you're in a live session for an hour, that counts. If you're doing, you know, curricular work through and you're logging your time through the courseware system, that counts. And if you're reading a novel, that counts. There's a log that's sent out that Misty's developed behind the scenes that you would log the time that you put in, because we are accountable to those hours. Any school is, any cyber charter is accountable to those hours, and they have to have that log, because it's a state requirement that a certain number of hours are your child, your son or daughter, your student gets a certain number of hours. So it's about 5 hours, 5.5 hours, can we round it? But 5 hours and 15 minutes per day. Is that a shorter day? Depends on what your schedule was. I remember, you know, I took 2 study halls my senior year. So is that a shorter day? I don't know. If you throw in lunch and PE, which I always just enjoyed anyway, could be shorter, could be longer. My daughter took French previously when she was previously enrolled in another state charter school. Her previous guidance counselor had proposed a schedule for her before we had withdrawn her. Who exactly would she be able to contact about this when it comes time to scheduling? I don't believe that we don't have French in AVA, to my knowledge. You mentioned German and Spanish. Is French offered at the high school? Me being not even started yet? Okay, so Sue's shaking her head no. So French would not be an offered course that you know, your student would have, your daughter would have for either the online, the traditional, or the modified traditional, or AVA. So that's an offering we don't offer. My kids in band and orchestra, what will this look like? Again, it depends. It depends on what option you go with. You know, modified traditional, it won't look exactly the same, but there will be band and orchestra. Online, they can zoom into the band and orchestra, or our online option, you can zoom in, or Microsoft Teams, it's a little bit more usable for us, into the band and orchestra, and they could, you know, they could perform and get feedback if they had individual lessons at some point that were scheduled. They could play in there. And AVA, they have music. Misty, is band and orchestra? Yes? I'm unmuting. There you go.
It's not band and orchestra, so that was my question, because I don't know, I'm learning this as well. If they were in AVA, would they be able to do like an online with your building as far as band and orchestra? That I didn't know, sorry.
Okay, so you mean for our hybrid option?
Yeah, like if they could do a hybrid option, then that way they could get, you know, AVA coursework, but then there are going to be courses that they might still want to participate through the building, so.
Right, yeah, so our hybrid option, and that's one of the details we're working through, is, you know, traditionally, prior to COVID-19, the hybrid option offered that flexibility where you could take like 1 or 2 courses online and the rest in the school. Maybe you had, you know, an internship to go to, and it's really a fantastic thing when you could take, you know, your courses up until 1 p.m. and then you could take online courses at night because you're going to go to an internship. It's a great way to build, or just you wanted a certain class, you know, outside of the traditional school. Now, we're still working through the details because of COVID and because of the way things are going to flex, whether that hybrid option is going to offer we do know that the online option can be done. Like if you're going to take the AVA courses and you want an online option for a particular course or two, that can be done. In the brick and mortar through the modified traditional, still working through the details of that. And we hope to have, well, we will have hopefully an answer before you have to select. I'm looking now at the chat to see if we have additional kind of items that we haven't gone over. And from what I understand, we have somebody who is an attendee today that can give a little bit of a testimonial about AVA and the use of AVA. So I'm going to try to find that person and see if we can put her on. I'm going to move that person over to the panelist and unmute her. So give me 1 second to do that. And I hope I'm choosing the right person. And move that person over to panelists. And so we have somebody new in panelists. Hi. I'm going to unmute you. Sorry, I muted you.
Hi.
Hi, it's good to have you. Thank you so much for showing up and giving us your wisdom and your experience about this. So
yeah,
what can you
you're
tell us
welcome.
about AVA?
We have had 2 of our children work through AVA through the hybrid option. And so it's probably a little different. It sounds like there's some changes that are being made. We would have worked through K-12 and Connections Academy were the platforms that we would have used for our kids.
Mm-hmm.
But I guess as I thought about the things that I wanted to say, just a few quick things is just, you have to know your child and what works best. Cyber is an incredible option if you have a child who is really motivated and loves to learn. It worked well for both of our kids in different seasons. We really appreciate what the district afforded us as a family. They allowed us a lot of flexibility and options, and that is what I really love about the program of AVA.
That's great. That's great. Thank you so much for sharing with us and for being here to offer that. I really appreciate it. So your experience has been great so far, and that's good to hear. That's good to hear. Were there some, you mentioned the hybrid option you used. What were some of the classes that you took in the brick and mortar?
My son Devin was a senior this past year, and he wanted to take AP Economics and Calculus. And so those were the two he took because he wanted to be live with a teacher. He wanted Mr. Hagan. And just with a math course, he found that easier to be sitting in a live class with a teacher. He had done it online through traditional cyber school, and preferred having the higher level math with a teacher face to face. But then he was able to do other courses. He did some dual enrollment with HACC and College in the Classroom, and also some just regular online courses through, it was Connections Academy was the platform that they used through EVA last year. So yeah, it was a great experience. He was able to drive, so that part was easier. When we did it with him when he was younger and I was doing the driving back and forth, the hybrid, that gets a little sticky.
Yeah, I can imagine that. And that was one of the features of our online that's, you know, when we're looking at scheduling with our online option, is there a way, and this is something we're struggling with, is there a way to have students zooming in from home for an online option, but also taking a brick and mortar class because of the, you know, you have a class every 4 minutes, you know, how would you get back and forth? So it's one of those challenges, but we're really, you know, and I'm glad to hear that, you know, the district was very flexible and allowed, you know, kind of met you where you were at. And so, and you said your son was a senior. What year is your daughter?
She is actually going into 8th grade this year. Both of them have done different blends of it throughout elementary. She went back to traditional brick and mortar last year for the full day, but had been at home for, I think, 4 years. And it worked really well. She enjoyed the flexibility of cyber school. She can sometimes get frustrated with how long it takes to repeat things in the classroom, and with cyber school, it allowed her to be able to get through the curriculum at her pace,
right,
and allowed us some flexibility in her schedule. She did not have synchronous classes, so we were able to, you know, work around different things that we wanted. If we wanted to take a field trip somewhere, or you know, yeah, it just allowed her a little more flexibility. But she also participated in orchestra. She plays the violin and was able to continue. She also had speech, so she would go into brick and mortar for her speech. And those things, again, the school district did a really nice job of providing those services and making sure she got what she needed.
That's great. That's great. I'm glad to hear that. I'm glad to hear it's working well for you. And it can work well for many people. If it's like you said, it has to be right for your child. It has to be the right fit. And you talked about self-pacing. You talked about the flexibility of having that. And really, you have to have a learner that can sit down and learn, you know, without, you know, the direct contact of the teacher, you know, throughout the course of the lesson.
Yeah.
Thank you so much for being with us. I really appreciate it.
Welcome.
Going to go ahead and change you back to an attendee. Really appreciate that. It's great to hear, you know, success stories as people are moving through these different forms of education. I'm just going to check the chat real quick. We're over an hour at this point. I'm going to check the chat to see if there are things that we haven't gone over just through a quick scan. I'm looking. Talked about flexible options, talked about hybrid, modified brick and mortar, talked about a lot of things. I think most of what I'm seeing within the chat, one is, are EVA credits fully transferable? The answer is yes. They're fully transferable. If you were on EVA for a year, the credits come back in and count towards your graduation. Fully transferable, as well as with the grades. It's still, you know, we still verify and seal that you're our student. You're just using this, you know, this online form of education. Can a student, if a shutdown occurs, can a student change options midstream if one option is not working for them? Really, if your great concern is kind of like if you were in the brick and mortar, one of the things that we're looking at and saying we probably can't do that is if you're in the brick and mortar and the online option, the modified brick and mortar traditional, or the online option, and you're working directly with the teachers in the school, we would want to keep you with the teachers in the school to ensure that continuity. Changing in and out of EVA, if you're in EVA and you're looking to get back into the brick and mortar, there's usual check-in points for online options, and it's about at the semester point. So if you were we do have students that go to EVA during the year, and you have students that come out of EVA during the year, but traditionally, because the courses are set up and the curriculum in EVA is different, they're like an A semester and a B semester. We would try and hold you in for that whole course so that you would be able to transition. So it's not necessarily as porous and flexible as our online option is with our modified brick and mortar traditional. I think as far as we are concerned, it is 4 o'clock, and I don't know about everybody else, but it's been an awesome day, but it's been a busy day, and I think it's time to wrap up. And I hope we gave you enough information so that you can kind of go forward. And if you still have questions and you need to talk about your specific situation, you can reach out to me, you can reach out to Lori, you can reach out to Sue. We have an online form that you're filling out. And as soon as you fill out that online form, every day we're in the background and I'm taking those requests or those inquiries and I'm sending them to the building level principal, and they're following up with people to just talk about these things and kind of make one thing I want to stress is that we can take care of your needs at Ephrata. It is the most flexible system I've seen. And my wife works in Manheim Township. I'm working at Boyertown. I worked at Hershey. And one of the things that surprises me so much about Ephrata is how flexible they are and how they're developing, even the online option is, really them going with that. And other people are just starting to catch on. I was at a board meeting the other day where what we floated out in Boyertown kind of got turned down because it didn't have this online option to offer students to be at home but still in contact with their peers and teachers. And the EVA Academy, the curriculum behind the scenes, I can tell you from working in this for many years now, the stuff we have is excellent. Misty does a great job, and they do a great job here at Ephrata to try and serve your needs. So reach out to us if you have any questions, and we'd be happy to help you out and to guide you in the right direction. But thank you all for coming, and this will be posted online. It'll be edited a little because we had some snafus, but thanks again, Misty, for all your help and all your work and all your support. Thanks, Sue, for being with us and offering your expertise. Thanks, Lori and Tim, for all the support you guys give, and I'll see you guys later. Have a great night.